Chapter 22. A hairpin, she thought, soundlessly sliding open the top drawer of the bureau and lifting the lids of a dozen lacquered boxes that lay inside. A skinny hairpin, and she ran her fingers through coils of pearl necklaces, tangles of earrings, clusters of golden safety pins, slippery heaps of buttons, a nice skinny hairpin, and she stirred a dish of rings. Maggie! Maggie! The two voices came not quite together but overlapping, one just behind the other. The two ants in the doorway overlapped too, like a pair of cards. The two red queens. What are you doing? What are you doing? The ring slipped from Maggie's hand and rolled across the floor. I was looking for a hairpin, she said. What are you doing in my jewelry drawer? What are you doing with my rings? Aunt Lillian spoke alone now. You know you are forbidden to enter these rooms. She's a thief, Aunt Harriet said. She's been a thief from the moment she entered this house. She stole the clothes from her own closet. Gone without a trace, said Aunt Lillian. Sold them, probably, said Aunt Harriet. I needed a hairpin. A hairpin, Aunt Lillian sniffed, with your hand in the ring box. I was looking behind it, for a hairpin. A hairpin, Aunt Harriet repeated. For that hair? No, Maggie said. I needed it to fix something. Harriet, Aunt Lillian broke in, she has something else in her pocket. She's already stolen something. What is it? Take it from her. It's a piece of china. It's a doll's leg or something. She held up Miss Christabel's leg with the little buttoned boot. I wonder where she got it. From the rubbish heap by the looks of it. Throw it out, Lillian. It's covered with germs. Disgusting, Aunt Lillian said. She crossed the room and dropped Miss Christabel's leg, boot and all, into the wastebasket, where it landed with a small swish on a heap of paper scraps. No, Maggie cried, surprised at the strength of her voice. Give that back. It's mine. And in the next moment she dived toward the wastebasket, but a hard hand dug into each of her shoulders, and she was marched down the hall into her own room. Aunt Lillian ruffled through Maggie's dresser drawers, stirring up the underwear and the tangle of socks, while Aunt Harriet slid the hangers, one after the other, along the closet pole. Stole her own clothes, she said again. I didn't take anything, Maggie protested again. I was just looking for a hairpin. A hairpin, Aunt Harriet said. For those oily strings? They faced her from the doorway. You will stay here until you are sent for, and they closed the door after them. Maggie could hear their whispers in the hall. It was a mistake having her here. She will have to go. And a pang went through Maggie's ribs. For the first time she could remember, she wanted to stay where she was, and she thought of Miss Christabel upstairs with her dress lying flat where her legs should have been, and Timothy John with a crack in his head, and of Juniper lying a quarter of an inch away from his ear. Wait for me, she whispered, but she didn't know if she would ever see the dolls again, or Miss Christabel's leg even. Maybe I'll come back, she whispered, but the room stayed quiet, and she drifted over to her bed. The deck of cards lay on the pillow, and she spread them out in front of her. These are cards, she said to the backwoods girls, who suddenly appeared in their admiring circle around the bed. She told them all about cards before, but they never remembered anything. Here's how they work. The pictures all have names. This is King of Hearts. He is the handsomest. He's married to Queen of Hearts. And this is their boy. His name is Jack. There were voices in the corridor again, and the backwoods girls vanished in an instant. Maggie pressed her ear to the door. A hairpin, Aunt Harriet was exclaiming. She said she wanted a hairpin when her hair is nothing but a mess of oily strings. Silence, more footsteps, and then someone knocking on her door. Maggie sprang away and stood at the window, her back to the room. They were coming to tell her she had to go. Maggie, why is it that you always turn up in the last place I look? They had sent Uncle Morris instead. Uncle Morris, who said nice things about her in her head and teased her with his strange jokes, was the one, after all, who would tell her she had to pack her things and leave. Next time I shall remember to look in the last place first, and save myself the bother of opening all those doors, he went on, and she felt his eyes on her back as she stared at the wide lawn, brown and frosty today, at the ghostly clump of birches, and at the distant bed of roses in their burlap shawls. She thought of Miss Christabel, who would now never again walk in her own garden of roses, and of Timothy John, whose head would lie forever cracked against the garden wall. The fact is, Uncle Morris said, there was something I wanted to say to you. Here it came. No more jokes. First a lecture, then the news, then goodbye. Your aunts have told me something quite unbelievable, he began. I wasn't stealing, Maggie said, turning to face him at last. I was looking for something. I needed to fix something that broke. I don't want any of their stuff. I just had to fix something. Uncle Morris continued as though she hadn't spoken at all. They told me, he said, that there is oil in your hair. I didn't want the hairpin for my hair. I wanted it to fix something. Oil in your hair, Uncle Morris repeated. I find that enormously interesting. Oil is a particularly useful thing in the hair. It prevents hair rust. Do you know, Maggie, what happens to people with hair rust? She returned her gaze to the garden. How long was it going to take him? They wake up suddenly one day, he went on, to discover that their heads are covered in a fine orange powder that settles in little streams over their ears and clogs the tub when they take a bath. It's a dreadful thing. The first sign is a faint creak, like an aging door hinge. What a fortunate thing that you will never know the terror of a hair creak. After that, it is only a matter of days before rust sets in and the tubs clog. He was at her side now, and he had something white in his hand. A letter, maybe. He was going to tell her in writing that she had to leave. I didn't want the hairpin for my hair, she said again. I wanted it to fix something. I wasn't stealing their rings. Now I'm getting to the important part, Uncle Morris said, and Maggie felt a thump inside her ribs. Could I borrow a small amount of your hair oil? It doesn't have to be much, just enough to touch up some tiny creaks I heard this morning when I combed my hair. It wasn't a letter in his hand. It was a handkerchief, and he was reaching out with it to the ends of her hair, but she pulled away. I don't have oily hair, she shouted, and I wasn't stealing anything. And if you're going to send me away, tell me now. She turned to him again and found him looking down at her, puzzled and serious. Then Harriet was wrong, she said. He said, she insisted you had oily hair. I will have to order my hair oil from the catalog instead. And he was gone. It wasn't until the door had closed behind him and Maggie could no longer hear his footprints along the corridor that she noticed that he had dropped his handkerchief on her bed and a white folded cloth with a blue M embroidered in one corner. She swept it off with her arm and then jumped, startled, when she heard a clatter as it hit the floor. Cautiously, she leaned down and stared. There at the edge of the bedspread lay Miss Christabel's leg, with a slender hairpin, golden tiny, stuck through its china knee. Voices rose in the hallway again. Aunt Harriet's, Aunt Lillian's, Uncle Morris's, Aunt Harriet's again. Don't make me go, Maggie said, clutching the china leg in her palm. Don't make me go, don't make me go. And then she held still as the voices moved away. The little leg still wore its leather boot with the rows of tiny buttons, and Maggie tried to stand it up on the window seat, but it fell over. Does it feel? Maggie wondered. If I press it, will it wake up Miss Christabel in her chair and make her cry out? She gave its shin an experimental dig with her fingernail, but no cry came through the walls. Voices again, downstairs this time, and a door closing. Uncle Morris going home. In a minute, 2 minutes, the aunts would come up, tell her to pack her things. She would have to go. She leaned against the wall, waiting for the step outside the door, but everything remained still, and the birches grew gray and then black outside her window. Maggie sat on the window seat, stroking the little china leg with her finger. For a long time, how long she couldn't tell, but her room was nearly dark when, from the wall, or the curtain, or the window seat, she heard in a sudden burst of words, Maggie, come back and bring some liniment.